Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today's February 21st, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. Check out our atmospheric river streaming north of the Hawaiian Islands. It's got its eyes on the Pacific Northwest. We got a lot of rainfall, we got some snowmelt, we got wind concerns, flooding concerns. We're going to dive into all those details here as we go through the video this morning. Now, if we take a look at what's going on here as we speak, gale warnings for the coast, some precipitation moving inland, but overall, relatively speaking, we are getting a break this morning, but that is not going to be the case over the next few days. We have several storm systems, and again, some very warm air aloft. It's going to bring flooding concerns across much of the region. Now, taking a look at some of the timeline, this is north central Idaho and western Montana, February 22nd through 24th. We got excessive runoff. We got frozen grounds out there. So some of this flooding could be impacting some unusual areas as well. And if you got snow and ice on top of your house, once this rain starts falling, things warm up and it starts to melt and go behind your siding, and you got to clear those drains, or you can get flooding in unusual locations here. So now is the time to prepare. And again, clear those drains. Nice graphic here, National Weather Service Spokane, and just showing you the entire Pacific Northwest here, hydrologic concerns. We've got flooding, widespread potential here, and I'll show you what the models have to say, because even now we have some pretty big discrepancies in what the models are showing as far as who is going to get what kind of rainfall amounts. Now, if you want a great affordable weather station to help support the channel, click on the link down below to save 10% off. Great smartphone app, highly recommended. Now, we're looking across the northern Pacific Ocean here. Look at this atmospheric river stretch all the way back towards the Mariana Islands, towards the Philippines. There's Japan, there's Hawaii, and there is where we are across the Pacific Northwest. Put this into motion, and you can see our frontal system that's coming through as we go through the day today and tonight. There's the big plume of warm, moist atmospheric river action into the Pacific Northwest as we go on in through the day. Saturday night, and on into Sunday morning. It's still with us. And then we get a pretty strong storm system here, or actually a couple of them are going to bring some windy conditions. I'll show you more on that here in a moment. But look at this low spin up right onto Vancouver Island as we go through the day on Monday. And then after that, we may start to get a break here, but we do have a pretty active storm train here to get through first. So let's just take it one thing at a time. Now, looking at the European 12Z run, here's the precipitation today. You can see it start to spread, maybe a little bit of light rain for Seattle this afternoon, but then it finally starts to fill in as we go through tonight and tomorrow morning, starts impacting some of the Willamette Valley. Some mountain snow is occurring with that one. But then we've got another frontal system coming in here, and this one is associated with the atmospheric river. You can see this plume of moisture with us all the way on in through, Sunday night. I'm showing here. And Monday morning, tiny bit of a break, but then the next deep low starts wrapping up off our coastline here. Another potent frontal system. Windy conditions are going to be rolling through. You can see this low dive into Vancouver Island as we're going through Monday evening here with one more big round of rainfall before finally looks by maybe next week we start to get a break, and it might be a fairly significant break here as well. We might get a few dry days. It'll seem kind of alien after going through this storm train with all this rain we're about to endure. So let's take a look at the European 12Z on the left versus 12Z on the right in the GFS. So I'll show you what's going on here, because even in the short range here, we are dealing with some pretty big precipitation discrepancies. So we're doing okay through hour 32, as you can see. But then the European hits a little bit harder initially with that portion of the system there. But watch what happens. The GFS absolutely painting Western Washington and some of the Seattle, Tacoma, and Olympia Metro with just huge, ridiculous amounts of rainfall. And the European is much more targeted on the Willamette Valley. Look at some of these totals. They're up over 1.3 inches of rain. Now you're up over 1.7 for some areas of the Willamette Valley. Big time discrepancies here. And look at just the ridiculous amounts it's showing for some of Western Washington. Both models have the rain shadowing northeast of the Olympic Mountains. That makes sense with the atmospheric river. And of course, east of the mountains. But still, big discrepancies on where the most sinister portion of this atmospheric river is going to line up exactly. Now, look at this ridiculous difference here in 24-hour precipitation totals. What is the GFS on here? I mean, my goodness, 2.8 inches of rain in a 24-hour period for Seattle, Tacoma, Olympia. That would be significant urban flooding there, southwest Washington. But look at the European, also huge amounts of rain for the Willamette Valley. Some areas up over 2 inches in a 24-hour period. Maybe Salem, Eugene, Portland could be under the gun for that as well. Again, it's kind of discouraging to see such model disagreement at this range. We're only looking, 50, 60 hours out into the forecast. So again, we'll be paying closer attention to this tomorrow morning as well, but somebody is under the gun here, western Washington down through western Oregon, and goes without saying here for the Cascades of Washington, the coastal areas as well. But you can see, again, big discrepancies even in some of the coastal and mountain areas as well. So yeah, wow, kind of discouraging to see that. Now take a look here at a wider view of things here. This is accumulated 10-meter max wind gust. So as we go through Saturday, you can see things get a bit breezy here. It's San Juan, Seattle gust 33, some 50-plus gusts, not out of the question for the Washington, Oregon coast. And then we scroll on in through Sunday, and there comes a pretty good pressure gradient that sets up across the region as we go through Sunday afternoon, Sunday night. Look at that, Seattle 45, some 50-mile-per-hour gust potential across western Washington. It could get gusty on the Oregon coast again as well, Willamette Valley. And then the stronger storm starts to ramp up here as we go through Monday. Look at the coastal areas, probably gusting 50, 60, bent back occlusion into Vancouver Island. And look at Seattle gust to 46 with that storm. And some of the Willamette Valley showing 48, 49, 50 into the lower 50s as we bring that storm in on Monday. And there's also going to be some instability around. We could have a thunderstorm or two behind one of these frontal systems as well. Now, taking a look at the European on the left versus the GFS on the right, what we do have pretty decent model agreement with here is that this initial system, as we roll on in the atmospheric rivers, we're going through Saturday night, but you can see this pressure gradient as we go again on Sunday afternoon into Sunday night. That's going to get a bit breezy here as well, but then the deeper low approaches as we go through the day Tuesday, and we are getting some better model agreement on the position of that low. The European is a little bit stronger with that, however, and then we scroll off into the extended and look at the ridge that wants to build as we go through Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of next week. Maybe we'll get some nice weather out of this to wrap up the month of February. Now, I want to show you here at 5,000 feet. So this, when you start to see the whites show up, that is below freezing at 5,000 feet. And then if we scroll off in towards Saturday, look at virtually all of Washington, Oregon, Idaho, much of Idaho and Montana are all above freezing all the way up through that 5,000 feet. So that's why we're concerned about some of the snowmelt and some of the runoff conditions here until we drop the temperatures back down a bit as we go and we get post-frontal with that big system that rolls through and keeps the colder air aloft fill back in. But yeah, if you scroll back there, you can clearly see that the atmospheric river is going to warm things up dramatically aloft, places like Snoqualmie Pass isn't going to get much snow out of these systems coming up here, maybe brief amounts, but that atmospheric river that rolls in will definitely be melting some of that. And there's the cross section there. And again, warm, humid air in the lower levels of the atmosphere. And you can imagine that slamming into the terrain and you get huge rain shadowing effects on the leeward side of the mountains. Now, day one excessive rainfall outlook, day two, they're all over it here. Western Washington, Western Oregon, they highlighted this here, and they do mention snowmelt across Idaho and Montana as well. That's going to be the case for some of Northeast Washington, some of the Blue Mountains as well. I don't want to leave those portions out. You know, if you got a lot of snow in your yard and your ground is frozen, you start getting precipitation, especially if you have any elevation at all, you could have some flooding concerns as well. And then we look off into day four and for there. But I also want to pay attention to this. The GFS ensemble mean for 24-hour precipitation totals. This is just absolutely ridiculous for Seattle. 1.84 on the GFS ensemble mean in a 24-hour period. So yeah, the GFS wants to really hammer some of Western Washington, at least the Willamette Valley. Still pretty good amounts, though, showing up, as we're scrolling on in through, Sunday and on into Monday there as well. So, yeah, we got to watch this system closely. There's going to be some flood watches going up, no doubt, here, maybe today or maybe tomorrow morning. So checking out the cross section here, this is Mount Hood. You can see how things warm up with our atmospheric river there. Then we get post-frontal for a little bit, and then the ridge builds up, and you can kind of see that the warm air moving in with the ridge maybe towards the mid and end portion of next week. Same thing for Paradise there. The atmospheric river will be warming things up. 6 to 10 day above average across the west. Should be no surprise. There's a 6 to 10 day precipitation, so it starts to get out into the range of where we might see this ridge building along the west coast of North America. Snowpack, we are not doing that well across Washington, better across Oregon, above average, but kind of a mixed bag here across Pacific Northwest overall. We'll see what this looks like after the storm train moves through and see what the atmospheric river does to the snowpack. Well, it's probably not going to be a net benefit here, but some of the higher terrain could make out better, but, that doesn't always work out well. Now, looking at avalanche.org, check before you go. Great website. You can click on this information here and you can get forecasts and give you snow levels, and they take pictures and tell you what the dangers are. And drought monitor, we went over that yesterday. Precipitation here. We're wrapping up in meteorological winter here, so I'm going to be paying attention to this over the next week or so as we wrap up the month of February. It'll be interesting to see what our average or a percentage of average precipitation for the winter months will end up being, and there's temperature as well. But anyway, yeah, we're going to go over this in more detail tomorrow. Hopefully we get some better agreement between the European and the GFS at some point today on who is under the gun, because that could be some significant flooding concerns for, Seattle, Willamette Valley and whatnot, and across the Cascades. We're still got some pretty good discrepancy, as I showed you, on where this atmospheric river is going to hit hardest. So anyway, hope you guys are liking the channel. Click like and subscribe. We'll do this all again maybe tomorrow, or if something comes out in the models, maybe it gets a bit windier, or if we get better agreement, I might do another video tonight. I also may do a Climate Prediction Center update at some point today as well. So watch out for that potential coming out later today. So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later.